today's video, we're going to be tier ranking every single currently active championship feud in the WWE's main roster today. That means we're going to look at all of the feuds surrounding championships across Raw and SmackDown. Because right now, it is incredibly important for these championship feuds to feel substantial and special because we're going into the second biggest show of the entire year, SummerSlam. And if I'm being honest with you, yes, there are some feuds that are genuinely fantastic. However, there's also a few of these championship feuds that are just not very good, or I flat out question the existence of if there's a feud at all. So we're going to be looking at all of these feuds and we're going to be tier ranking them from Hall of Fame all the way down to trash. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring that bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I'm confident that you're going to fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. And due to the insane popular demand of it, I've now opened up a Reddit page for you to submit your memes, videos, pictures, questions, and at the end of the week, I will go onto that Reddit page and create a reaction video to your posts. I'm sure you've seen plenty of other wrestling content creators do this, but there is just no such thing as an original idea in this landscape of content creation. So if you want your Reddit post featured in an upcoming Reddit reaction video, make sure that you go check out the Reddit page. I'll put it at the top of the description. All right, now let's jump into it. Okay, so here are the different tiers that we're going to be working with. We have a Hall of Fame, which is reserved for feuds that are just legendary. They are fantastic feuds that I would say everyone would universally agree is just something that you're clamoring for. That's mouth-watering. That is worth watching, and it's worth gluing your eyes to the screen for. We have great, good, meh, and then at the bottom we have trash. These are the feuds that you just frankly cannot get behind, or they just like barely even exist. Let's start off with the WWE Women's Tag Titles. Right now, I think it's debatable to say whether or not there's a feud, but I think the closest thing to a feud for these championship belts would be Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill versus the current champions, the Unholy Union. Let's not forget that the Unholy Union did win these tag titles without ever needing to pin Bianca Belair or Jade Cargill. And Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, we thought were going to go their separate ways there for a bit as they were in the Money in the Bank qualifying matches, but they ended up reverting back to a tag team, and they've already called their shot against the Unholy Union. Unholy Union more or less already accepted this. I don't know whether it's going to be paid off at SummerSlam, but this is a feud that I feel is maybe a little bit too late. Like, it's just so much time has passed since the Unholy Union took the titles away from Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill that it's lost any amount of steam that it could have possibly had. Had they capitalized on this feud immediately after Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill lost the titles, then I think I would be singing a different tune. But they've kind of kept Unholy Union in the back burner ever since winning these tag titles. They've essentially been doing nothing. So I can't really get behind this feud. However, the benefit of this is that because Bianca Belair is involved, because Jade Cargill is involved, I could see these titles getting on SummerSlam or on future PLEs, because without Bianca Belair and without Jade Cargill, the women's tag titles, frankly, at the moment have no hope of ever gracing the eyes of a pay-per-view audience. I'm going to put this into the trash category, mostly because it's barely gotten going. Let's stick with the world of tag teams, because right now this is where the WWE is really struggling. Ever since they divided the championships across Raw and SmackDown and separated the unified titles, we really thought that we were going to get better feuds, better opportunities for other tag teams, and that just hasn't really been the case. Let's look at Monday Night Raw. Would you even say that Finn Balor and JD McDonough as champions even have a feud right now for those tag titles? What's the closest thing that they've got? R-Truth and The Miz getting a rematch? Literally, that is the closest thing that we have to them having a feud right now. And the problem with the tag titles right now as a whole on Raw is that really they are just a plot device to help thicken the plot that is Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan. And understandably so. Like, that's clearly the money match for the women's division going into SummerSlam. But I feel like sacrificing the tag titles' integrity in the process just to build that up seems a little bit odd. And now we have Finn Balor and JD McDonough kind of in no man's land, where they definitely will not get a spot on SummerSlam to defend those titles. I just can't see a world where that happens. And I just don't see a world where these tag titles grace any PLE for the foreseeable future, and they haven't been on any PLEs, understandably so. So the Raw tag titles also go into the trash category, and I think it's just going to be indicative of the overall treatment of the tag team divisions across men's, women's, Raw, SmackDown, whatever it might be. I'm not doing NXT, but even NXT right now is struggling to book the tag team division. As I've alluded to, let's stick with the tag teams and let's look at the SmackDown tag titles. Look, it's really weird that DIY won the tag titles from A-Town Down Under, only for the next week for them to not be featured in any capacity at all. In fact, you know who got the main event spot? The guys that lost the tag titles. It's a bit bizarre that they wouldn't do anything for DIY after winning the tag titles. They are so hot. But anyways, that sucks. It is what it is. But we could be leading into something potentially even bigger here. I don't know that I can say that the tag titles feud is DIY versus A-Town Down Under anymore. I would say that right now DIY is in a holding pattern, waiting for the next feud to really arise. And we know that in an upcoming episode of SmackDown here, that there is a 6-way tag team match to determine the number 1 contender. I know that that episode's already aired. I have, at least I believe it's on this upcoming episode. I haven't read any spoilers for it because it is pre-taped with the WWE being in Japan. So I don't know who won that. That being said, the last time that we saw DIY, they got destroyed by the Bloodline, mostly Jacob Fatu. And I'm just going to say this. Look, a few videos ago when we did the Who's Gonna Dethrone Who, bunch of you guys called me crazy for saying that Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa were going to dethrone DIY. I think that's the route that we're going to go. I believe with Jacob Fatu and the Bloodline attacking DIY, that's the closest thing that we have to a feud right now for the men's tag title, at least over on SmackDown. But it's still in its early stages that we can't really make heads or tails of this just yet. I think the closest thing, like I said, is DIY versus the Bloodline because it looks like they're done with A-Town Down Under. So trash for now because it also hasn't gotten going. Man, this video really started out negative. 3 consecutive trash bins. But again, I think it's just Triple H's flat out inability to book an interesting tag division. But let's move over to singles titles and let's look at Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan for the WWE Women's World Championship. And right now, I would dare say that this is probably the hottest feud that involves a title at the moment. The storyline between Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Dominic Mysterio literally is must-watch TV. It's part of the reason why Raw is so much better than SmackDown, because the women's division of Raw is something that you are clamoring for. You want to know what's next around the corner for this ridiculous storyline. With Rhea Ripley coming back, we don't know what sort of shenanigans Liv Morgan is going to get up to. How does Dominic Mysterio factor into this? How does Judgment Day factor into this? Because it was because of Liv Morgan that JD McDonough and Finn Balor are even champions in the first place. Does Damian Priest get involved here? So though, what this feud is doing right now is that it has, one, excitement for the actual match and the feud itself, but then a lot of interesting unanswered questions going into SummerSlam. To me, this is a good enough feud to be at WrestleMania. It's just a lack of timing. If this was the buildup going into WrestleMania, I think everybody would be going crazy for this feud as well. I think that this might be the best feud in the WWE right now in terms of championship feuds, and one of the best feuds in general. This is going into the Hall of Fame. This is a great feud that's going on. No, you bitch, Triple H. You bitch.
Great shot.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh my. Oh, there it is. Oh.
Look at this. That was a sneak peek of this week's SummerSlam Wrestling is Cool Match Club, which is available exclusively over on patreon.com/SantiZap. This week, we're looking at the first ever Universal Championship match between Seth Rollins and the Demon Finn Balor at SummerSlam 2016. The World Championship match between John Cena and Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam 2013. The amazing TLC match between Jeff Hardy and CM Punk at SummerSlam 2009. The famous custody of Dominic Mysterio ladder match between Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero at SummerSlam 2005. And we'll also be looking at the infamous 2005 match between Hulk Hogan and Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam 2005. So if you want to get those match watch-alongs alongside the Raw review, SmackDown review, the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days early, and more, make sure you check out patreon.com/SantiZap. The link will be in the description of this video or in the pinned comment. Go check it out. I'm pretty confident that if you even try for 1 month, that you're going to stick around and fall in love with it. All right, back to the video. Sticking with the women, let's look at the counterpart of Raw and look at SmackDown. We have Bayley and Nia Jax, and I do believe that the story here is entirely different. Look, it makes sense as to why Nia Jax has this match. She won the Queen of the Ring tournament, and that needs to be something that gets respected and is treated like a special attraction. Because if you want to make SummerSlam into this big 2-night affair like WrestleMania, just like how the Royal Rumble is a big deal, to win going into the road to WrestleMania, I think winning King and Queen of the Ring has to be that Royal Rumble moment. So totally cool with Nia Jax being in this position. But the buildup to this has been lackluster, I would say. It's not that they haven't tried. Over the last couple of weeks, there's been plenty of interactions between Bayley and Nia Jax. Nia Jax has already gotten the upper hand on Bayley, taken her out. In the recent episode of SmackDown, Bayley caused Nia Jax's best friend, Tiffany Stratton, to lose her match against Mia Yim Michin. So there's stuff happening. Whether that stuff is good or not, I would lean towards the not so good, but at least there's an attempt and there's something there. And there's still 2 weeks to still be able to make this happen and make this work and get you excited over it. So I'm not going to put it into the trash category with the rest of the tag team division, because at the very least, there is something here, unlike the tag team division where there's just nothing. I'm going to go into the meh category. Let's look at the men's mid-card titles and let's talk about Raw, which has the Intercontinental Championship. I would say that the fair answer here is that the championship feud involves all three of Sami Zayn, Ilya Dragunov, and Braun Breaker. It's very possible that when we go into SummerSlam, that it might just be Braun Breaker versus Sami Zayn. But just as of the last episode of Monday Night Raw, where the match really was interrupted by Braun Breaker and we didn't get a definitive winner between Ilya Dragunov and Sami Zayn, tells me that Ilya Dragunov is justified to be potentially added into the SummerSlam match and make it an awesome triple threat match that could potentially steal the entire year. Like, the three guys, in terms of quality and talent, are match of the year worthy. I'm just saying, on paper, it gets me excited. I don't know that Ilya Dragunov, in terms of excitement for plot reasons, adds too much to this, but in terms of excitement for the in-ring aspect, he definitely adds a lot, in my opinion, because I do believe that the story here really is Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker being the unstoppable badass, and Sami Zayn being the guy that no matter what you hit him with is still getting up every single time. I don't think that this feud is particularly great yet. I still think that it has a lot of room to grow. Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker going into Money in the Bank also wasn't fantastic either, and it hasn't really elevated beyond that just yet. So I'm going to put it right next to Bayley and Nia Jax. I'm going to say that it's a meh feud at the moment. Sticking with the mid-card, let's look at the US title between Logan Paul and, I would presumably say that it is LA Knight, because they do have a championship match that is scheduled for SummerSlam, which makes it really easy to be able to easily determine that this is the feud that's going on. This feud fucking rules. The most recent back and forth between LA Knight and Logan Paul on SmackDown was one of the best promo segments for both Paul and LA Knight that I've seen ever since really like the Triple H era has gotten going. I do think that it kind of sucks that Logan Paul can hit LA Knight with everything, including the kitchen sink, in terms of insults, but it's very clear that LA Knight is being forced to hold back and can't say all of the savage things that you could say about somebody like Logan Paul. But look, it's the feud that we've all been wanting. It's a match that we've all been wanting. It's at a major stage like a SummerSlam. It's for a championship, which we wanted LA Knight to go after. And these two are delivering in the aspect that we all knew they would deliver in. but they're also, in my opinion, taking a step above that with their great promos. I would like to see maybe more. I think it would be awesome if LA Knight crashed an Impulsive podcast. I think that would be great. I would love to see Logan Paul attack LA Knight when he's working out or something, because this is Logan Paul. I think part of the beauty of having Logan Paul in the WWE is that you can take the WWE narrative and take it outside of the bounds of the squared circle, just like we did at Logan Paul's mansion. The podcast is a thing, YouTube videos is a thing, Instagram posts. I want them to get really, really creative and use social media to truly build this. But so far, so good. I feel like the feud's been great thus far. Going back to Monday Night Raw, let's look at the World Heavyweight Championship feud between Damian Priest and Gunther. This is a feud I was nervous about at first. I was nervous about it because this doesn't scream money match, especially when you thought about it a month or 2 months ago. None of us really thought that this was a very juicy matchup. I would say that most of us would have preferred somebody not named Damian Priest. Many other options I felt would have been more appealing in terms of creating a big match feel. That being said, I feel like Damian Priest has absolutely earned his keep, and I want to apologize to Damian Priest because he has come off as a fantastic champion as of late. This feud is still brand new, so to be super harsh on it would be a little bit unfair, but then also to be super generous to it would also be equally unfair. They've had one interaction, and I will say that one interaction sold me on this feud, sold me on this match, but we just need more. We need more between maybe Ludwig Kaiser getting involved against members of the Judgment Day. It looks like they're trying to keep the Judgment Day and Imperium out of this, but I still think that that could add to this feud. We need more promos between them, more backstage segments. I think more vignettes would absolutely work. It's in its early stages, but that first step that it took on the last episode of Monday Night Raw was absolutely the right step forward. I'm going to go into the good category, but I will say this has the potential to reach the great category. I don't know if it's got Hall of Fame legs, but I think it can move up this board by the time SummerSlam actually rolls around. And then we have the WWE Undisputed Championship feud between Cody Rhodes, the champion, and the new head of the table, the new tribal chief, Solo Sikoa. I do love his whole weekend vibe and his red socks and his velvet shirts. Look, Solo Sikoa has really, really won me over. That being said, this feud actually hasn't, and I've got my reasons. I'm not a Cody hater. I'm not a Solo Sikoa hater. Part of the reason why this hasn't won me over is when you really start to peel the layers and peel the onion here, you know, if you're a Shrek fan. For Solo Sikoa, this is small potatoes. There's bigger fish out there, and same for Cody Rhodes, because Solo Sikoa, we know inevitably is feuding with Roman Reigns, and we know that Cody Rhodes is inevitably feuding with The Rock. So when I see these two clash against one another, I'm just not particularly sold that this is the main event of either of these guys' summer. I would say that I would be more excited to see Solo and Roman at the moment, mostly because Roman Reigns is this overlooming shadow being casted at the moment on Solo Sikoa. So many of Solo Sikoa's major story beats have involved the absence of Roman Reigns, him taking all of these moves that he's not allowed to, inviting all these people to the bloodline that he's not allowed to, taking out and kicking out the wise man, Paul Heyman, basically calling Roman Reigns a bitch. All of the best parts of Solo's build up to this feud have mostly been jabs at Roman Reigns as opposed to verbal jabs at Cody Rhodes. The jabs at Cody Rhodes have all been physical, and that's been great and whatnot. But it just feels like there's just other stuff looming that feels like the WWE sees as more important than this particular feud. Still, I would still put this into the good category. I don't think that it touches meh or trash, because at the very least, it's fairly fleshed out. It's just that it feels like a side quest as opposed to something SummerSlam worthy. All right, folks, thank you so much for watching this video. This is your chance to agree, roast, whatever, but that's it. I'm done. Get out of here.